Hey, what's good, people? Fresh off a night shift, so I'm a little bit tired, but I felt in my spirit, I just heard the word Jeroboam, son of Nebat. And I heard it about 3 times, Jeroboam, son of Nebat, and I had to think about this because it's a name you hear a lot in the Bible, especially if you've read the Old Testament in the book of 1 Kings, 2 Kings, because he caused Israel to commit the sin of idolatry when he built the 2 golden calves for them to worship. And so obviously I had to look in the Bible and saw a little bit more, looking deeper into Jeroboam. And he originally served King Solomon until the prophet Ahijah told him that he'd take 10 pieces of Israel and rule over them. And when King Solomon died, his son took over, and he answered foolishly and was inciting the tribe of Judah and Benjamin to go to war against the rest of the Israelites. But the prophet came and said, you should all go home, you shouldn't be fighting against your brothers and sisters. You need to go home because I have caused this. And even though prophets spoke in favour of Jeroboam, and even though the Lord himself had anointed him through Ahijah, he was afraid that should the people go to Jerusalem to worship as they were called to by the Lord, then what would happen would that they would revert back to King Jeroboam, who was the King Solomon's son. So in order to prevent this, he set up 2 golden calves. And all throughout the book of 1 Kings and 2 Kings, despite the wickedness of the kings that followed Jeroboam, Jeroboam is always mentioned that he was the one who originally caused Israel to go astray. Now there's a lot of things that I can talk about in Jeroboam. Specifically, I was thinking about the holidays that we celebrate. A lot of you in this ministry know that a lot of the so-called Christian holidays are pagan holidays, but Jesus asked Pontius Pilate, who has greater sin, you for sentencing me to death, or the people who handed me over to you? And I think that's relevant in this, that because Jeroboam was very much called again and again throughout the books of 1st and 2nd Kings. He called out by name for causing them to commit idol worship. Apologies guys, I don't have the energy today. Like I say, I'm just fresh off a night shift, but it was because of fear of man instead of fearing the Lord that Jeroboam committed this sin and put up for high places, and he appointed his own festival and brought in priests who weren't Levites. So he went against all of God's commands from Exodus in his, to start his rule. And as we know, put first the kingdom of heaven and all things should be granted unto you. He was told, if you follow my decrees and follow my laws, then I'll establish your kingdom. But obviously that's not what happened, and he caused Israel to go astray. And what I really feel on my spirit is that trust in God's guidance and don't be afraid of what people will say, people will do. If you are doing something that God's ordained, and I've been guilty of this myself lately, of fear of man and what the consequences might be from man's point of view. But we have to just trust that if God's brought you to a place, he's gonna provide, protect, everything you need. God will provide, And there's also some prophetic symbolism in Jeroboam, because when he sets up the high places, a prophet from Judah comes and prophesies that the altar is going to crack, as we see with the tabernacle when Jesus is crucified. And we also see the man with the severed hand in the temple prophesied when King Jeroboam stretches out his hand to say, "Seize him," from the prophet. His hand shrivels up, and he asks for a prophet from Judah to intercede. I don't think there's anything else I can say about Jeroboam, but I just want to encourage you all today. Be bold, walk forward, and be strong in the Lord, because He is our strength. Peace. Shalom.